Friends, good morning, and welcome to worship here on this frigid Sunday morning in the midst of this polar vortex. Thank you for making this journey into the city, to the historic sanctuary here at Fountain Street Church. My name is Nathan Dannison. I'm honored to welcome you here. Fountain Street has been a home for radical thinking, for progressive ideas and theology for a century and a half, right here in the heart of Grand Rapids, in the Grand River Valley in West Michigan. And your presence here today makes us stronger as a hopeful people, even in the midst of all that is happening. I want to begin with a couple of words of gratitude. I want to welcome to worship today a couple of guest musicians. I want to welcome back Hannah Lane to offer our meditation and our offertory, and also to Otto Portzline for bringing his gifts and sharing them in worship as well. Can we thank these guests today and welcome them too? And I also want to thank again all the folks who work on the Liturgical Arts Committee and our artist today, Michelle Miller-Hansen, for the pulpit antipendium. Each one of these art pieces embraces and celebrates and lifts up an image from the history of this church. Today, this beautiful quilted piece is, it moved me very deeply when I came in this morning. I want to offer a quick correction to the bulletin as well. Our choral benediction is going to be a different piece. It's actually, the choral benediction today is called Draw the Circle Wide. Each of these musical settings has been selected by our choir and our choir director, Emmanuel De Leon Jr., in the month of January as we look together through the history of Fountain Street Church through the lens of social movements in this church. I want to tell people that we've got something kind of new and awesome. I know I've been kind of railing about name tags for the last few weeks. Somebody actually did something about it. That's fantastic. That's good. So there's a new name tag board out front just behind the welcome desk. The notes here, many of the new name tags have magnets. If you don't want the magnet or you use a pacemaker, you can twist that off or you can change it. If you want a lanyard or a clip or you want to attach it with super glue, or this is Fountain Street, you can wear it on your forehead if you want to. All name tag options are available to you there at the welcome desk. This was a huge project this week, and so I want to take a moment and thank Angela Swan and John Schweitzer for being here this week and doing that work. Fountain Street Church is part of a movement in West Michigan called Together West Michigan. We are honored to be part of that amazing organization, and to tell us more about what's coming this year, this big year, I want to invite Cindy Camp and Jill Cunningham to come and speak to us on this.
Good morning. Cindy and I volunteer with Together West Michigan, which is a coalition of 25 congregations and nonprofits that call on us as members to participate in our democracy locally. Our own community is where our collective action can have real impact. Even when the national news seems unimaginable, I find hope in our fellow team members who work to keep local officials accountable, including how they respond to federal pressures. We need you to support our effort because we all know there are power in numbers. Please take a look at what we have been working on.
Kent County would need an additional 20,000 child care spots for kids to keep up with local demand.
Commissioners, we're not in the midst of a sports stadium crisis. We're not in the midst of a music venue crisis, but we are in a child care crisis, and we need you to check your priorities.
Mr. Chair, you have 9 yeas and 10 nays. The motion fails. The amendment is not adopted.
We deserve clear, measurable public benefit that reflect not just the interests of a select few, but all of us.
A hearing on the Three Towers development proposed downtown. The project has a price tag of nearly $800 million.
For 30 years, Fulmer Property Holdings would receive the building's property taxes, state income taxes from the people who live and work there, taxes related to construction, and more.
That is not a good deal for Grand Rapids.
6 of the 7 commissioners sided with the big money interest and voted the $500 million tax break through.
So the wealthy, a few people get tax breaks, and more in our own county can't even catch a break.
Damage after a big water main break. Dozens of homeowners woke up this morning to water in their basements and their cars submerged.
Older infrastructure like this, it could be a crack around on a pipe, it could be a longitudinal split.
Their insurance will not cover the damages, and the city says it is not responsible for reimbursement.
Will they make decisions that reflect our priorities or someone else's? That depends on us.
We're taking the next year to talk with our members and neighbors about that and what their priorities are, to build our platform for what the public benefit in return for our public investment should be, and turn our members out to vote based on our priorities in November 2026.
Will you join us?
The Show Me the Public Money campaign is the result of a year-long project within Together West Michigan. Its subtitle, Making Taxes Work for the Common Good, underscores that as taxpayers, we all have a stake in how public funds are used. Some of you attended the Grand Rapids City Commission meetings in late 2024 and early 25, where the Three Towers luxury office, hotel, and housing project was quickly approved by our city commissioners. This project will provide the developers and their billionaire backers with $565 million in state and local taxpayer subsidies over 2 decades. Together West Michigan is in favor of economic development, the kind that benefits all Grand Rapids residents. We believe that public budgets are moral documents and that taxes should benefit everyone. How our community spends its money communicates volumes about our values. Having a voice in how our taxes are used is fundamental to ensuring that our democracy is both political and economic and works for all of us. Together West Michigan, Show Me the Public Money campaign will culminate in the elections this November. We've gotten a taste of change and want more. Will you join us?
Here at Fountain Street Church, we will be presenting the Show Me the Public Money campaign 3 times starting later this week, and hope you will join us for one of these 3 sessions. These presentations are open to anyone interested in how tax dollars are invested in our community. Invite a friend, everyone is welcome. You'll see on the bottom of your bulletin insert that there are 3 dates listed. This week, Thursday, January 22nd with dinner. Next week, Sunday, January 25th at 12:30 with lunch, and Saturday, January 31st at 10 a.m. Each session will offer a 30-minute presentation followed by a small group discussion about our vision for how our tax dollars can build a stronger community. Please be sure to register for the presentation that you'd like to attend so that we can ensure we have enough food. Thank you for supporting Together West Michigan Show Me the Public Money campaign.
In a moment, we're going to receive 2 historic readings from the life of Fountain Street Church. The first is by a minister of this church, Duncan Littlefair. It grew out of the pain and frustration during 1970 here at Fountain Street Church. And it focuses on the word religion and what it meant. and what it meant to the people here at Fountain Street in that time and in that season. And then a poem by Edith Brower, another Fountain Streeter, that she wrote in response to that moment in the life of this church. It was her love letter to the younger people at that time who were known as the flower generation. Today we know them as the baby boomers. It was only published 10 years later in 1980, but it was from a dedicated pacifist who had experienced the First and Second World War to those responding to the horrors of the American War on Vietnam. These readings, this season, this time is a encapsulation of the work of this church, which is grounded in some very pragmatic practices, all of it committed to peace. Not as a hope, not as a philosophy, but as a verb, as a practice. And so as we begin our worship service today, I'm going to encourage you to greet one another with words of peace. We'll sing together in a moment our first hymn, 345, With Joy We Claim the Growing Light. But first, friends, may peace be with you. Let's greet each other with words of peace.
There's perhaps no time when religion is not needed, but there are times when the need is desperate. Such a time is now. This is a time of chaos and confusion. Accustomed moralities, traditional beliefs and practices, and established institutions have lost their validity and effectiveness. Such chaos calls for wholeness. This is a time of emptiness and futility, engendered by the loss of traditional beliefs and practices. Such futility calls for meaning, vision, hope, and faith. This is a time of materialistic absorption made possible by our industrial technological age and encouraged by the diminution of ideals and the loss of qualitative standard. Such materialism cries for renewal of the spirit. This is a time of hatred, bitterness, and alienation. Cruel and ugly conflict is commonplace in every society, and war ravages our world. Such hatred calls for love. This is a time of anonymous, impersonal relationships created by massive mechanical production and the enormous urban concentration of population. Such impersonality and non-being calls for a community of those who care and care for each other. Community is the work of religion. This is indeed a time for religion.
Children who are here this morning, all the children who are with us, to come forward and join me up here on the steps. If you can come down by any aisle and have a seat up here, and I'm going to show you something cool. And you can bring a grown-up with you if you want, or if there's just grown-ups that want to come down front. I don't know, maybe you're feeling character school today. You can come, and I know they do some cool stuff up there. I'm so proud of you for making the journey this morning in the midst of this snowy season. Good morning. Hey, good morning. Welcome. So I know that there are some really cool programs that are going on right now for kids upstairs, and so we're a little light this morning, and so you're kind of my special crew, and so I'm so glad that you made it too. But I just wanted to point something out. I know a lot of the other kids are at the OWL class, but I figured I'd have some of you so I could show you something that I saw this week when I was sort of hanging out in here, and it's in that big table back there. And so I'm going to show you, and I know we've talked about this before. This is, it's called the communion table of the church, and it's where we gather, right? And there's, what do you see in that table? Do you, first, let me just say, do you see any animals in there? Yes? What do you see? You see plants? Yes, there are many in there. There's actually 4 animals in there. There's 4 critters, and they are all birds. Yeah? Okay. So I saw those birds, and I wondered what the heck they were doing there. And as you know, instead of working on my sermon, I spent a lot of time researching these 4 birds. And because I thought at first, maybe they're like from the Bible, and then I remembered where I was and realized they aren't. And so there's 4 birds. There's an eagle right here. Do you want to come up here? You can come up here and, it's okay. I mean, you can come up here whenever you want. Yeah, come on. You want to see? All right, yeah. It's cool. There's an eagle right there. And then here is a dove. That's pretty cool. I thought it was a duck, but it's a dove. Yep. And then, yeah, look at that. That's when I'm going to get to that one. This one's a peacock. Mm-hmm. And this one's a raven. Yeah, it's a raven. Do you know what a raven is? It's like a glorified crow. It's like a special kind of crow. So this raven, so first of all, these birds mean different things to different people all the time. But here, they represent the 4 seasons, right? The 4 seasons. So I think it goes spring, summer, fall, and winter. This raven is for winter. And the whole thing represents hope. It represents hope because the seasons always happen, they always come and go. But sometimes in the winter, I forget to pay attention, right? And I start thinking about how I wish it was summer and how I might have lived in Southern California or other things. But they wanted us to see that raven every time we came here, to remember that even when it's cold like it is today, even that when there's a snowstorm like there is right now, even when we have this polar vortex going on, there's signs of hope. And the raven is a winter animal, and it's a sign of hope for people all around the world. I think that's pretty cool. And so this week, I know you'll be talking about this upstairs, but I was hoping that our blessing could be that we would watch and pay attention for the winter trees and the winter animals, because it can give us hope. Okay, you can repeat after me if you want to. Maybe they'll do it too. This week, we will watch for the wintertime trees and animals. Okay, you can make your way off to character school, go on adventures.
To the Young by Edith Beadle Brower. We too were young once, and we had our sacred causes. We dreamed of being part of a brave new order, rebelled against injustice, poverty, oppression. We embraced socialistic concepts, believed in human rights. Between 2 great wars, we were ardent pacifists. If we could just expose the senseless horror, remove the glamour, take away the profit, break up the cartels of munitions makers, why then did we not bequeath to you a better world? Because there were too few of us. There are always too few, it seems, who are imaginative, creative, idealistic, also practical, level-headed, willing not only to fight for, but willing to work hard for their beliefs. It is so much easier to curse the darkness than to light a candle. Light the candles. You can do it. You are the only hope.
This morning, before our sermon, a gift, a moment for our meditation of rest, reflection, and centering. Please open your hearts and receive this moment with peace. Cliff, I think we still have the area mic on up here. I think that's what's doing it. Let's try one more time. Okay. No. One more time. There we go. Fountain Street Church. Okay. Let me pray for myself. You know, we do sound check this. Should I try from the center? I can't see you, so I can't see the... Okay. Do you want me to use the lectern? I can use a handheld or the lectern or just my outside voice if you want.
Try the outside voice.
Okay. Well, there we go. All right. And maybe just, you can probably bring the house down and I will preach very loud. Okay. Thou who stands beneath and above, within some dim unknown, keep watch. Amen. It's a tradition here at Fountain Street Church in the month of January to preach a sermon series, and it's a tradition here to tell the stories and histories of this church, and I think someday we'll probably put all of those together and publish yet another book about the history of Fountain Street Church. But it's hard to talk about history when the present world is on fire. There's fascists marching in the streets. There are military patrols going door to door in Minneapolis. Innocent people are being killed by federal agents in our cities, right here in the Midwest. And they are dying in domestic concentration camps. And so this is a very, very urgent moment. So why talk about history, or how to talk about history? Why? And it is because I believe that history repeats. And if we don't take that seriously, then we fail the moment. And we can go all as far back as we want. We can learn from studying former moments. We can learn from studying former resistance movements here in the United States of America, but throughout human history. So I go all the way back to the Jesus moment, to that movement in Palestine 2,000 years ago. Palestine under military occupation. The Gospels talk about a movement that arose out of a moment of crisis. It was a 2-year period of community organizing, and it was a resistance movement. And it was led by a working class Jewish Palestinian man, and it was led by women and men who were from radically different religious traditions and cultures in that part of the world. And it was only later, centuries later, that the powerful people twisted the message of that moment to become something totally transcendental and separate from the world and its politics, and then cheapened it into a cult of personality. So this informs my theology of liberation. It's my entry point. And it informs my process theology as well, because we can learn from history, But the present is always in a state of change. It's always appearing to us with something new. So let this be my little memo or letter to somebody maybe listening or reading this in the year 2076. If anyone is reading these words 50 years from now, understand that we are aware of the crisis of this moment and the urgency in this room. And we're not sitting here ruminating on stuff that happened 50 years ago and staring at our navels while the world's on fire. We're trying to figure out what we're supposed to do. And I also want to gently push back on those who are demanding that we panic. This is not a moment to simply react. Act for the sake of acting, or act because the sky is falling. It would be a kind of historical narcissism to imagine that nothing like this has ever happened before. God, it's the exact same historical narcissism that declares every 2 years this is the most important election in U.S. history. I have voted in 12 of the most important elections in U.S. history since 2012. And I think about what it would mean to say those words to a woman fighting for suffrage in 1916, or a Union soldier in 1864, or an enslaved person in 1860. So we do need perspective. So the readings that we just heard shared arose out of the crisis of 1970. This moment when the tension between political affiliations, but also between generations in U.S. history came to a divisive head. Out there and also in here. By 1969, Fountain Street was pulling itself apart. But it was happening quietly because things were quiet in Grand Rapids. The conversations were very tense. But it was a dark moment in the history of this country. And it centered on the American war on Vietnam, but it extended to every aspect of life. And in the docket, on trial, was the question of what is the proper response of this church. I believe that 2 Fountain Street ministers can help us understand that tension and reactions to it. And one of them is Duncan Littlefair, and the other is David Rankin. Duncan Littlefair was the minister of this church from 1943 to 1979. And David followed after him in 1982. But in 1970, the year we're talking about, David was in another part of the country. He was a young minister at a church in New England. These 2 men in that moment embodied 2 different responses to the war on Vietnam. Their work and urgency showed up. It manifested in 2 different ways. And understanding the tension between these 2 different perspectives is at the heart of the work that we are doing today, right now in this church. Both Duncan and David drew on process theology and liberation theology. Both of them believed and said frequently that your religion is not what you say you believe. Your religion is what you do. What you do reveals what you really believe. What you do is your religion. We have a lot of words for beliefs, values, faith, philosophy, but religion is not simply what somebody believes. Religion is what somebody does. And this is why in my own work, working with churches, especially churches who are in some kind of crisis, I pay very close attention to how people use their money. Under capitalism, whatever form of capitalism we're living in today, there is yet some freedom in how money is spent. You can tell a lot about somebody's religion by following the money we just heard. You can tell a lot about the religion of a city by seeing what they do with their money. Many Americans say, especially the really religious ones, talk about caring for children or protecting children or caring for the poor or people with disabilities or the elderly or something. But then when the government tries to spend money doing that, they lose their minds. They march around with tea bags on their hats. Some of you are old enough to remember what I'm talking about, the tea bags and the things. And now it's the red hat instead. Okay, in 1970, Duncan Littlefair had already been the minister here for 27 years. 27 years. That is an almost unimaginable tenure in a mainline church. That's a very long time. Today, in churches, many ministers last only a few years in congregations, and many others leave the ministry far too soon. The averages are messed up because a lot of people go into ministry and then never actually serve a church. But Duncan would then, after 1970, he served another 10 years as head of staff, a total of 37 years at this church. And then he hung around for another 20 years as the minister emeritus. Because where was he going to go? I mean, I get it. He arrived here in 1943, during World War II, when fewer than 100 people were worshiping here on a Sunday. The church had already risen and collapsed, and risen again and collapsed again. And so he arrived during that third collapse in the life of this church, and he presided over the third great rise of this congregation. He was here through the end of World War II, through the GI Bill and the birth of the welfare state, and then through the baby boom and the Cold War and Korea, the civil rights movement, desegregation, the assassinations of John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr., through the culture wars, flower power, Nixon, Watergate, the energy crisis, wave after wave of upheaval. And then he helped shape Grand Rapids itself. He helped create social welfare programs, he argued for justice, and he fought with the mayor, which is a time-honored tradition at Fountain Street Church. And yet, when it came to the marches in the 1960s, he was against them. He wrote, somewhat apologetically, but he wrote in June of 1970, too many people, leaders included, use their participation in these demonstrations either to alleviate their guilt or to serve as a public proclamation of their involvement. Neither motivation is worthy or valid. When the marches and demonstrations are done, the real work is still to be accomplished. This takes nuance, folks. If you've been paying attention, you've probably heard similar criticisms from the left of the big protest marches that we've had. Even back to the Women's March in 2017, or the No Kings rallies, or the million-person events that we have out in the streets chanting, taking pictures, and then what? What? The criticism is not about the anger or the message. It's about the strategy. I began my adult life marching against the Iraq War in Washington, D.C. in 2005. We were told it was the largest protest in U.S. history. And George W. Bush went golfing. And the war continued. And then I marched again in the Black Lives Matter protests. Now I was older. Now I was both a minister and a former EMT, emergency medical technician. I was either wearing my collar or I was carrying my jump bag. We had a clear demand: defund the police. And then Biden was elected, and police funding skyrocketed. If you can understand that frustration, you can begin to understand Duncan's frustration with the marches in 69 and 70. And yet, Duncan did not despise the flower children or the hippies. He preached sermons praising them, this movement. He excoriated from the pulpit older liberals like himself for dismissing them. He insisted that they be heard. He elevated youth voices in this church, and at one particularly poignant moment in 1969, he invited the hippies to take over the worship service. Then he got a lot of feedback about that experience. Why was he opposed then? Why was he opposed to the many members who wanted Fountain Street Church as an institution to pass a resolution opposing the war? Why was he opposed to using Sunday morning as a time to march, to fight, damn it? You've got all these people here. Use it. Because he believed that our job was different. He believed that the work here on Sunday morning was to create a place in every day and age where people bring their deepest questions, their values and concerns, and where then with thousands of others, through tears and laughter and silence and anger and joy, they would be transformed into the best possible version of themselves. And then, having found their people, they freely could band together and go out into the world and stand against the powers and principalities and forces of evil. Not because the church told them to. Not because Duncan had persuaded a majority of them to pass a resolution that could be wielded like a creed. If you go to Fountain Street Church, you believe X. Not because he wanted to be able to point and say, well, I support this or that because Fountain Street Church has proclaimed this to be true. No, because if this church was doing its job, the people would rise to meet any moment in history. Vietnam, yes, and the next crisis and the next. And so despite the pressure, Duncan refused to say that Fountain Street Church as an institution is opposed to this specific moment, this war on Vietnam. And when the reporters, the media reporters couldn't understand this, when powerful people wanted to get the church's institutional position, what is the church's position on this crisis? He would smile and he would say, ask them. Well, was it better? Did that work? From that style of ministry, from that radical commitment to free will and democracy came the GAP program. It came the Urbanites. It came the Choice Fund, Americans for the Separation of Church and State, Project Rehab, ACLU of West Michigan, Planned Parenthood of West Michigan. All of that grew up out of the seedbed of this place. And eventually, what came out of 1970 was the Social Action Committee. The Social Action Committee, and today we call it the Social Justice Committee, was born in that moment, out of that tension. It was a deal that was hammered out in here in the midst of frustration, out of 2 years of trying to balance two radical commitments to remain non-creedal and radically open, and to save the world. The amazing programs that were born here, none of them emerged from a congregational vote or a resolution of the congregation or a creed. It came from a church where the people came to say to each other, we do not need a bishop or a king to tell the truth. We don't need a priest to dictate right action. We don't need to hide behind Fountain Street Church. We need to practice our religion, a place to come and grow and develop and refine our religion as people, a community of others that could come together, not to dictate right action. No, you do not get to hide behind Fountain Street Church, but rather a place to grow. And then we can say, here's the classrooms and the kitchens and the meeting spaces. Here's a roof and bathrooms and a copy machine that works 80% of the time. And here's some coffee. It's pretty good coffee. We will do our very best to make this space available, and we'll try to keep the cops from bothering you while we do it and get to work. This place won't tell you what to believe. doesn't do that. It is a place where you're free to practice your religion and then find others and form an affinity group. And now we can compare that to David Rankin. In 1970, David Rankin was a young minister in New England. He was a young father. He was a former political science professor, a confessional universalist Christian, and a self-described anarchist. A man after my own heart. And in response to the war on Vietnam, he founded the Network of Parents Opposed to War, an underground railroad made up of Quakers and Unitarians who harbored young men avoiding the draft and kept 300 boys out of that war by any means necessary. He wrote about this in his book, So Great a Cloud of Witnesses. I have the chapter where he writes about this. It's in the Chimes. I've made some copies in the back. You can take it home and read it. 300 young men. It is too easy to paint Duncan as the minister who didn't do social action and David as the minister who did. But if that's all you see, you've missed it. In the archival shadows are quiet letters. Duncan's letters that he was writing to the draft boards on behalf of sons of this church, working quietly to extricate them from that machinery. Targeted, risky, but refusing to compel the church to take one official stance. And in that same archive are the beautiful words of David Rankin later on, steadfastly refusing to take this congregation into a denomination, using his authority to somehow force this place to comply with a creed. He refused. He saw the value. Sometimes the work that we've got to do takes both. Okay. The hard work is to demand that what we bring into this place is nothing other than our deepest concerns, our most sacred truths. To refuse to be spoon-fed orthodoxy or be given a gold star for having the right opinions. No easy answers, but rather to come here in preparation for doing the hard labor, in the words of Paul, to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. To stand with Luther and say, here I stand, God help me, here I stand, I can do no other. To wrestle, as Jacob did, by the mud in the dark of that river. We come here to fight with God. And then having done that work, lift our eyes and see the others. See the others who've done their own wrestling and come to some other conviction, and then get to work. The church is brick and mortar. The people are the community. The people are the body of this place at work in the world. The people are the object of our love. This week, you loved people. This week, you saved lives. You paid the mortgage for 2 immigrant families on the west side. You paid bail for a nonviolent offender sitting in jail under this ridiculous pay or stay system. You held space for dozens of groups to meet here and strategize and organize, and then who without that would have had no place to go. And this week, during this polar vortex, you provide shelter, rest. You did so much this week. And you did it knowing that you have this place, and this place has your back. Not because this place swore an oath, but because this place gives something deeper and greater and more powerful that an oath or a resolution or even an institution can provide. It can give love. It's not hard for me to imagine Duncan greeting David in 1970 in an office here and saying, this is the headquarters of your movement. And even if we disagree with strategy, even if we had that strategy was David's religion, deeds over creeds. What did Fountain Street Church believe in 1970? Believed in the people of Fountain Street Church. Would have been too easy to do anything else. So if you have come looking for a safe and quiet place to hide behind an institutional shield, you won't find it. because there's other churches that would center their life around doctrinal fights and purity tests. But rather, if you've come looking for a community, to build a community, to do what you need to be challenged or to challenge, ask questions, fight with God. If you've come here to wrestle beneath the weight of your own soul, to argue with adversary, and then lift your vision, that's what we do here. That's what this place can be. In the darkest hour of the last century and a half, when truth was on the scaffold and wrong seemed forever on the throne, this place became a fountain of love. Not a sword that divides, but a plow that can turn the soil over from generation to generation. Not a test of faith, but a laboratory of religion. No rigid creeds, just a common quest. Until, once again, this church was ready to receive the next and the next and the next. Filled from floor to rafters, a house of light where a fountain of love overflowing, beloved community, shaken together and running over into the world. Amen.
I will rise against my foes. I will rise for all the mothers. I will carry all their woes. I will rise to fight for freedom. I will rise though faced with fears. I will rise against all hatred while my eyes are veiled in tears. I will rise for religious freedom, for a rich diversity. I will rise for all the weary, for each lonely refugee. I will work for all our women who deserve equal pay. I will work for all our children who await a better day. Sisters, oh, stand with me. Rise up hand in hand. Oh,
this church and does so much good here in this community. At this time, I want to invite the ushers to come forward and to receive any gifts or offerings that you have come to share today. And thank you.
No human can condemn another to hell, 'cause we're already there. No human can condemn another to hell, 'cause we're already there. We don't see the truth because we are blind. We keep searching outside, but there's no truth to find. No human can condemn another to hell, 'cause we're already there. No human can condemn another to hell, 'cause we're already there. We don't see the truth because we are blind. We don't want to see all the false beliefs we have in our mind. Mi tote maya illusion. Mi tote maya illusion. Mi tote maya illusion. Mi tote maya illusion. No human can condemn another to hell, 'cause we're already there. Beyond the chaos, beyond the fog, is a crystal mirror.
From the inheritance we have received into bread for the journey, let this sustain us, and so may it be. Friends, let us sing our closing hymn, that great anti-war hymn, number 119, Once to Every Man and Nation. Friends, if you are remaining for the congregational interview with the candidate, you are invited to take a very brief break while we reset this room for that. But all of us together, preparing to go forth into the week ahead, let us join our voices in this responsive sending. Friends, the world will be saved by love. We go to love the world. Amen.